going to begin today talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci. So let's dive right in. He was grilled by lawmakers on Capitol Hill all about the government's response to the COVID pandemic, including the origins of COVID, social distancing, and masks. Take a look.
Americans were aggressively bullied, shamed, and silenced for merely questioning or debating issues such as social distancing.
The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous.
Publicly, you challenge them on the 6-foot distancing rule?
It is not appropriate to be publicly challenging a sister organization.
Do you agree that Americans now have lost their trust in science, in lead science from government because of misinformation like this?
Well, when you talk about misinformation, I think that you have to be careful. It's not disinformation. It was information that ultimately proved, when you put the aerosolization in, that
it was not an effective rule to have 6 feet of distancing.
Whew, but a lot of people are now talking about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. So things got really contentious with her after she refused to refer to Dr. Anthony Fauci as a doctor. Take a listen.
Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as you don't know what you represent, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Would suspend. The gentlelady should recognize the doctor as a doctor.
So what did you think, Al, of Dr. Anthony Fauci's testimony and the
I don't know.
Clown show?
It was a kind of a manufactured clown show. I've actually studied this a lot because I have nothing to do and I don't drink. So I studied this kind of just in my free time. And the experience we had in this country, I don't think we understand was an anomaly. A lot of countries, they dealt with the pandemic and it was harsh on everybody, but it didn't have to be like this because we mixed our science with our politics. We were unprepared for different reasons. One is that, we don't have any incentive for our companies to store things like masks, to store things that our scientists and doctors needed. Then you had people reusing protective measures. And, some of that was on us, but a lot of people use this as a way to gain an advantageous position politically, because it is such a hot button, divisive issue. And any issue that's divisive, politicians are going to jump on it because they want to keep their job. And the fact that we're going back and retroactively talking to Dr. Fauci instead of saying, well, why did we respond so late? Why didn't we have things ready? Why did it even come up that do masks work? We knocked that out in the 1800s, maybe even before then. I think that would be a more fruitful exposition. But instead, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, I wanted to go back to the bully, shame, and silence for the questioning. I think that we have a very rosy depiction of what was happening during that time. First of all, bully, shame, and silence is about, it's not about facts, it's about feelings. And if your feelings were hurt, I'm terribly sorry that your feelings were hurt. However, people lost their lives. And there was a reason why people were encouraged not to speak out on things that they didn't know about because they didn't have a scientific or medical background, because at the time we had no vaccines, we barely even had masks, and people were dying at 5,000 to 6,000 Americans a day. I lost 5 people during that time in my life. Sam, I know you lost your brother-in-law. People were looking for answers. People were looking for solutions. So that wasn't really the time to have debates. If you want to debate, then get a talk show. Don't come on and act like you're some type of a medical professional.
Jeff?
Yeah, there's a couple things here. One, I wish we just showed the first clip because that's what I agree with. I had questions, right? When you get into Marjorie Taylor Greene, it just becomes a clown show. Like you said, right. It's like, I don't care what side you're on. Don't diminish people's accomplishments because you disagree with them. That's on both sides, okay? Everyone just wants to diminish them to nothing and be like, your opinion doesn't matter. It does matter. It absolutely does. And it has gotten too political because I had questions myself during COVID, but I wasn't allowed to speak them. I was freely with my boss, but I wasn't socially. I got vaccinated twice, okay? My whole family did. I did the right things. I wore a mask, and I'm like, well, it wasn't a one-size-fits-all type of answer. I'm like, what if you take some vitamin D and take care of yourself? Doesn't that contribute? Don't push back on the science. That's not what it is. Well, I have some questions of my own, but as soon as I question them, I'm labeled a Trumper and silence and all my credibility is taken away. We have to stop that in our country. We have to have open debates, like Al said, and learn the facts and learn from other people who, no matter what walk of life you are, I have questions. It doesn't mean I'm challenging you. It means I'm curious and I want to know more.
You're unique, though. There's a lot of people that specifically will try to disparage a doctor or a nurse. And I just want to say this, just in your point, Dr. Anthony Fauci served 7 presidencies. He really helped with the AIDS epidemic. He has invented things for inflammatory diseases that I'm sure benefited people in Marjorie Taylor Greene's family that she doesn't even know about. So why now? Exactly. It's politics. And I think it's really sad because he's getting death threats. His kids are getting death threats. And at the end of the day, this is a man who had more body of knowledge than any of us. And in my opinion, did the best he could, not solely. He had dozens of the top scientists in the world working to try to prevent the 7 million deaths, including your friends and my brother-in-law. And they're not here today. So I just think this is, Marjorie Taylor Greene, wow. How do you look at yourself in the mirror?